Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. So Sloan Sorbonne here with the association. Welcome for our 6 Feet Apart webinar series. We're going to allow a couple minutes for everybody to get logged on here. So allow you guys to get situated, and we'll be underway in just a couple minutes. All right, it is 9 a.m. exactly, so we are going to get started. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sloan Sorbonne. I'm the Director of Career Development with your association, Washington Multifamily. And we're just thrilled to have all of our suppliers together this morning. We feel like we miss you. We don't get to see you at all of our events. Things are kind of crazy right now. And so we're just glad to have an opportunity to gather you all together and hopefully provide some information through this 6 Feet Apart webinar series that will help you feel informed, maybe a little encouraged and motivated to kind of keep going right now. Super excited to have with us Kirk Downey. Kirk is the COO of Liberty Rent, and he's also the chairman of the National Supplier Council at NAA. So Kirk represents multifamily suppliers at a national level. So he's put together some really great information that he's shared within the context of NAA that I think will help today. We hope that it does. Before we get started and I hand things over to him, I just wanted to do a couple of quick housekeeping things. First of all, this is a webinar, so we cannot see or hear you, but you can interact with us and we encourage you to do that. A lot of you have used the chat room already this morning. Feel free to do that. Just make sure if it's something you want everyone to see, you select panelists and attendees. Otherwise, your note's only going to us. There's a Q&A feature on the bottom that we also encourage you to use. That is something that you can populate throughout this session. Throw your questions in there, and at the end of the session today, Kirk and I will be answering any questions that you have for him or for me, for the association. There's an opportunity for you to also like questions that have also been asked, and we encourage you to do that. That'll kind of bubble questions up so we know which ones are most important to all of you. Also, there is the best view for you to watch this webinar today is to go up to view options and exit full screen mode, and then open your chat view so that you can put the chat over on the right. It'll keep Kirk's presentation kind of front and center for you, and you'll still see the presenter up on top. So those are all of my big announcements. The last one I have on behalf of our dear friend Kelly back at the association is we love to see you enjoying WMFHA events, even if they're virtual. So if you post to social, if you're a social person and want to post how you're enjoying today, you can do that. We just ask you to use the hashtags WeAreWMFHA and WMFHA 6 Feet Apart, which I've just put in the chat room for you. So you can go ahead and do that. Today's message is recorded, and we'll be sending this out to you after the session today. And additionally, let's just see if everybody has the chat room open and ready to go. We're going to do a quick little icebreaker. If you could just post in the chat right now one word that describes how you're feeling right this moment. Go ahead and do that. Make sure you're sending it to all panelists and attendees. Energize, sanitize, that's good. Blessed, grateful, one fabulous, nice, optimistic, rest, good, caffeinated. I know Kirk and I are both on our second cups of coffee this morning, so we are caffeinated also. Well, that's awesome. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Without further ado, I wanna hand this over to my friend Kirk. Take it away, Kirk.
Thank you, Sloan. Hey, everybody, how are you? Just so you know, this is not a webinar presentation. This is just a chat. And yes, this is coffee. This is not alcohol yet. So I've been noticing on a lot of calls that I've been on that everyone is using their Yetis and whatnot, and I'm having to ask them, is there alcohol in that yet? So let's all stay with coffee right now. It's still early for you. I'm actually in Sarasota, Florida. I'm about 3 hours ahead of you, so it's almost alcohol time here. Excited to have this, and I love this presentation or this format you guys have created over there at WMFHA with 6 Feet Apart. It really makes a lot of sense. I've been fortunate enough to speak at quite a few associations around the country, just trying to bring some calm to what's going on right now. And it's not because I'm smarter than anyone else. It's just that I am in a fortunate position to have a lot more conversations with different suppliers and property management people all around the country. And I just ask a lot of questions. So I'm going to kind of go through some things that I believe have helped our company, but that just as suppliers, things maybe we need to think about during a crisis like this. First off, I want to thank Sloan especially for helping to put this together, but the entire WMFHA group is fantastic. I was on a call last week, was your happy hour, and I sat out in my yard with quite a few people and just, well, you were on the phone with me and got to meet a lot of you that way. And then also I was at the Emerald Awards, which would be the last event before we all went into shutdown. And I would tell you, open arms, you know, when I was there. And Sloan's husband, Greg, you guys all know, is a dear friend and was really great to me during that time. But you really do have an incredible group, not just suppliers, but as a whole. Everybody is really wonderful out there. So you're all very fortunate. Right here, this is going to be, I'm going to kind of tell you what the overview of what we're going to go through, but we're going to do 2 quick poll questions for you. But we're going to go through the introduction, which we just did. We're going to do a little bit about business during this crisis, a little bit about leadership during a crisis like this. Whether you're in a leadership position or not does not mean that you can't lead. Talk about the difference, what I believe in optimism and hope during a time like this, when to call, and then complete understanding of what's going on. But let's get to those 2 quick poll questions right now.
Yeah, sure. So you should see these pop up here. This first one is really just how things are going in your business right now. So I'm going to launch this so you can go ahead and just answer what your concerns are right now. Like, what are you most concerned about? Let's see. It doesn't look like anybody's answering. I'm going to end it and launch. Oh, no, there they come. Okay, so people are starting to answer there. Looks like right now it's kind of switching, but the leader kind of continues to be keeping my team safe and healthy while servicing our customers. I get that. All right, we're going to give you about 15 more seconds. So if you haven't answered the poll, please go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to end this and just share the results with you guys. So looks like, hopefully you can see this there, keeping your team safe and healthy, which I think that's everybody's concern, whether you're a property management professional. I know that's what we're worried about. We're worried about our family. So that's your overarching concern. Then close behind that is keeping your small business going. And having that you have products or services maybe that could be helpful during this time, and you need to get that message out. And we'll definitely be talking about that. So,
and that's pretty normal across the country. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. We got one more poll question.
Yeah, we have one more. So I'm going to launch the next one. This next one is anonymous, which means nobody's going to see how you answer this, but this is just helpful for Kirk at a national level and also for us locally to know if you're struggling with laying people off right now. So this question is, has your company had to lay off its employees? Yes, no, but we may have to, or no, we don't anticipate. And again, this is anonymous. Nobody's going to see how you answered this, but just kind of helps us know how you guys are doing right now. All right, a couple more seconds here.
And Sloan, what I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, save those. And when we get to the Q&A toward the end, I want to address these 2 polls first, and we'll come back to them.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to end that, and I'm just going to share this really quickly. So looks like, I mean, really, we're really fortunate. I mean, these are our local supplier groups. So right now, 42% of don't anticipate any layoffs, which is wonderful to hear. 10% of us have had to, and another 38% haven't, but may have to. So just so you kind of know where things are at. And like Kirk said, we'll come back to this at the end of today. So I'm going to stop sharing this and turn it back over to Kirk.
Wonderful. Do I need to exit this whole thing? There we go. All right. So like I said, here's what we're going to kind of chat about. Remember, like I said, this is very nonchalant. We're all just sitting in our houses right now talking to each other. So let's just pretend we're in the same house. If you've got questions, feel free to type those in so Sloan can keep those organized. And then toward the end, we'll come back to all of those. So if anything pops up that I'm talking about, or you just have some thoughts, I'd love to do that. This isn't just Kirk's got the answers. I want to get people's thoughts and feedback on what they're hearing. So let's go to the first thing. If I can get the screen to move. There we go. Business during crisis. So I've made a couple of points of things that I've kind of been talking about. And let me reduce my screen a little bit here. All I see is Sloan's face. All right, there you are, Sloan. I've got you up in the top right-hand corner now. So a crisis never leaves us the same. So make a positive change in yourself and your business. That one is, when this first happened, the first thing day one, when we knew this was going to happen back before Advocate with NAA back in March, first thing we thought about as a company was this crisis is coming. There's no way we can avoid it. And what are we going to do as a company? And I'm pretty proud to say that the first thing was, what are we going to do for our team? And if we don't make a single sale between now and the end of May, can we take care of our team? Are we going to have enough in our reserves to pay their salary? Are we going to have enough in reserves to pay for their insurance? Because we pay for their insurance for them and their family. And that was the first priority, because the way I see it, we would not have the business that we have if it wasn't for this team. So we're going to do everything we can to take care of this team, because when this crisis is over and we have this new normal, we're going to need that team that got us there in the first place with us. So we buckled down to figure out how are we going to do that. We've been very fortunate that we haven't had to lay anybody off, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we don't. I'll tell you also, don't try to control what you can't control. And a lot of people get very wound up about things that are going on. If you can't control it, stop worrying about it. Let that be whoever's responsibility that is, or if it's something that none of you can control, just stop talking about it, because it will drive you crazy by doing that. And also, I think you're going to notice inside of your company, we've definitely seen it in ours, and I've seen it with my friends around the industry, is this is when true leaders rise. I've always said, as a leader, a true leader, when things are going well, should be sitting behind their team, patting them on the back, telling everybody how great they are. That's a great leader. But when it all hits the fan, like it is right now, that leader now goes to the front and takes all the bullets and protects their team and leads their team through that crisis, because that's what your team's expecting from you. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things that leaders sometimes will, or let's say designated leaders, some mistakes that are made during times like this. Our job as leaders is to build hope, to build security, and encourage our team during a time like this. Let's not talk about the bad things. And also, all of us is smarter than one of us. So it's not my job just to come up with every idea and what needs to happen. It's to bounce things off of the team, regardless of their position inside of the company or how long they've been here. Is what do you think about this? And then let's come up with it as a group. It's like the Knights of the Round Table. I need everybody giving their 2 cents, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to come up with a decision together. It's not just going to be Kirk's going to say something and we're just going to deploy that and it's law. It just doesn't work, especially in a time like this. It didn't work before, and it's sure not going to work during a crisis. And I think the biggest thing is, this is probably a time, I always say, I can't make you be a good person. That was your mom and dad's responsibility. This is the time to just be a good person and really work on that. And that doesn't mean that you weren't a good person, but if someone's not being, this is a good time to let them know that. This is a time to be kind to people. We don't know, I think as suppliers, we have to really think about property managers, especially what they're going through right now. I mean, I don't want that job. What they're going through and what they're having to deal with. They already wore a ton of hats. Now imagine the extra hats that are on them. They've got, if they're a third party, they've got investors who are riding them. They've got their property management company who's telling them what they have to do. They've got residents who are panicking and saying they're not going to pay, on top of all those other jobs that they've always had. So I think it's time for us to be a good person to them. This is a big one here. You can't moan and lead. And I think during this, so many have just complained and complained and complained about woe is me and look at all this that's going on. And I think the best thing you can do is turn the news off for a couple of days and just take a break. But you can't moan about what's going on and lead your team. You got to make up your mind. Which one's it going to be? You going to sit around and gripe and complain and moan, or are you going to lead your team? I choose to lead them, because moaning's not going to get us anywhere. And then I think this one is probably cliche, but most companies have it in their mission statement that their people are first. I think it's important that there's more than just saying that people are first. Our job is to serve our clients, but it's my job to serve my team. It's our job to lift our clients. It's my job to lift my team also. Show support for my team, show support for our clients. And then the big one, which people always seem to be uncomfortable, is using the word love. You've got to love your team. And you got to love your client, because if you remember to serve, lift, support, and love them, then you won't make silly decisions like calling them right in the middle of a busy time in a crisis and start trying to sell them something. If you're serving, lift, and support and love them, you won't do that. You think about, what do I need to do for them? So I think better, we're all going to become better because of this crisis. Sloan and I were chatting about this prior, is that when this is all said and done, we're all going to be better people for this, which hopefully will make us be a better company, which in turn will help us be a better industry. And I really think about the term multifamily and how, in the past, it just seemed like a lot of words, but now it really means something. We are a family, and we're going to be there for each other when this is over with. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that also. This was a big one, and I know that Sloan and I chatted, and she liked this one. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and things like that, as probably most of you are, and trying to find what is that going to be, that inspiration that really lights me up. And I kept hearing a lot of people saying, I'm optimistic we're going to get through this, and I'm so optimistic. And I just kept going, that word doesn't work for me. Why is that not working? And I'll tell you why, because I thought about it, and optimism is believing that things will get better. Sounds great, right? No, I like hope. Hope means we can make things better. So optimistic is fine, but I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. And that's the words that we use in our company. That's the words when I'm talking to people, is to keep saying hopeful. I am hopeful this is going to happen, because we and everybody on this call and everybody in our industry and everybody in this country, is the hope that we have is what's going to make this better, and we'll get through this. Now we're going to talk a little business here. When to call. I know most of you probably know, we don't call properties the first week. We don't call properties the last week, because that's rent time, right? So they're collecting rent. They don't want to talk to us, and the gatekeeper is on the phone and going to keep you there. And if you come in the door, the gatekeeper is going to block you. I think during this time we're in similar situations, except a few things are different. I think it's important to know your own personal values when you're making decisions right now. And I think this is not just from a sales perspective, but if there's any owners of companies on here, executives of companies, you have to know your own values when you're making the decisions that apply to your team, that will then apply to your clients. Please keep your values in check when you're making these decisions. And also remember, the people that you're talking to, they're your friends. They're not just your clients. These are your friends. And first off, if they're not your friends, then that could be a reason why sales are dropping, because relationships weren't where they needed to be. But I would doubt that with this group, because being there a month or so ago for Emerald, there's a lot of friends there. So I don't think that's an issue for you guys. And I think we also talked about understanding their situation. When we're making decisions on trying to sell a product or service to somebody, is we really need to do less talking during that time and do more listening. I think you started out with, how are you doing? And they're probably going to immediately try to go into business with you because they feel obligated. And you need to just stop them and say, hey, I'm not calling to talk to you about business. I'm asking how you're doing. How are you doing? Because that's what friends do. We check on our friends. And if they choose to talk about business after that, so be it. But don't start out that way. Find out how they're doing. I will tell you, in a meeting that I was in recently with the NAA, and I had a lot of executives with companies, and I asked them flat out, if you need a supplier, or you want a supplier to reach out, who do you want them in your company during this time to reach out to? And overwhelmingly, they said, please don't call our properties. Please don't call our properties. Our properties are in turmoil right now. Don't call them. Call a VP and above, unless that property manager is the specific decision maker for your service. And so a lot of people here, I know that the property manager is the decision maker for what's going on there. That's fine. But other than that, a lot of people are going to need to go to the VP and above. That's who you need to reach out to, or an asset manager, depending upon what your service or product is. But just think about that at the property level. They're going through a lot. A lot of them are running skeleton crews right now. They're not allowing anybody inside. Their world's been flipped upside down too. So let's just be careful. And hopefully a lot of them are still reaching out to you because you have great relationships and you're still able to sell your service or product and you're able to help them during this time. And I talked about avoiding that first and last week of the month. Now is even more crucial because we're going to talk about somehow how those rent collections are going right now, and how everything's kind of been extended. You know, we all remember that it was the 3rd and that was the late. Now most of them are extending it to the 10th. Some of them are extending it to the 15th. Some of them have completely deleted lates in general, and they're not even adding any fees. They're just, you know, God, please help them pay this rent this month. So we need to remember that there's a lot going on with that property that wasn't going on before. And I think another one that's really important when you are making these calls and you're having these conversations is creating that do not call list. If they're saying, hey, you know, can you just leave us alone? Please make a note so everyone in your company knows that you don't badger them during this time. Because if they've asked you not to call them because of whatever, then we just need to honor that and not call them. And you will have some that are going to tell you this. I need you to leave me alone for 6 weeks. Can you get back with me in 6 weeks? You know, guess what, guys? I know we're trying to sell products and we got quotas to meet, but we need to back off and leave them alone for 6 weeks. The other is some understanding of what's going on right now. I think, and this is just me talking to the supplier group and your companies, I think it's important right now to allow extreme flexibility with your team. And if that means that they're working 4-day weeks, then so be it. If that means that you're allowing them to work different hours, then you've got to do whatever you've got to do right now, because most everybody on this call is locked up in their house right now. And I don't know if you've looked outside, there's a thing out there called the sun. It comes out periodically. Maybe we'll all get to see it together soon, but you know, allowing flexibility with your team is very, very important. Communicate intentionally with your team, encourage balance. And what I mean by that is we can't all just be sitting in our house working all day long. We've got to get out and do something else. I would encourage having conference calls with your team that have nothing to do with business. It's maybe just a happy hour and you do it once a week. We do one on Wednesdays, which will be this afternoon with my team, and we call it the happy hour, but it's themed. So someone on the team gets to pick how everyone dresses up, and I have seen some crazy Halloween costumes, I'm going to tell you, but it makes everybody relax a little bit for that time. If you want a beverage, that's fine. If you're non-alcoholic, that's fine too. We don't pressure you, but it's just a time for everybody to relax. The other is demonstrating empathy, which is very important right now. We don't know how much longer this is going to last. It could be another month, could be another 2 months. We'll just have to wait and see. And as a leader, always be available for your team. Always be available whenever that is for whatever questions they may have. And sometimes it may just be there to chat because we're all going crazy being locked up in our houses, especially if you're in sales. I don't know how the extroverts in sales are dealing with this right now, being locked up in your houses. I'm sure it's very difficult, but we're proud of you. And then the other is to lead authentically. And I think that is very, very important. Remember, you don't have to be an executive in your company to lead. You know, I always say, you know, people are going to notice who the leaders are. They always will. And if you have to remind people that you're the boss, you're probably not the boss. Something I've always tried to tell myself. Couple of updates. I know NMHC and NAA have been putting out a lot of information about how rent collections were going, and some of them were very promising and some were not fun to look at. But last week I was on a call, and I will tell you that about 88 to 92% of everyone that I spoke with, which was a large representation of the units around the country, have collected rent for April, but they do not expect May to be as strong for whatever reasons. They definitely have notes of people coming in saying that they expect next month to be a lot worse. So I'm not going to be the doom and gloom guy, but I will tell you that the odds are that it is going to drop. And what that means for us, if they don't have revenue coming in, they're going to have to make decisions with the rest of us. Who's going to stay on as a supplier? What supplier is essential right now that I need, and who's not? And then we're going to run into anybody who was in this industry 10 or 12 years ago when we had the housing crisis, is them all trying to negotiate with us on trying to get our price down, or they're trying to pay us a different dollar amount. I would tell you, don't go immediately into negotiating. We're not in a position that we need to immediately go into negotiating, guys. This all really just began. Negotiating and trying to work things like that out, that's later. Let's not, as suppliers, start getting rough on our clients. Let's just say we'll get it worked out, and we'll talk about that separately, because so many people are already going, what do we need to do? Can I pay you half now? And we're like, this just started. Are you already wanting to pay me half? Can we at least wait till May before we start freaking out? So I would just say, let's all sit back. We don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what next month brings. Unless you're a prophet, you don't have those answers. So I just say, sit back and relax, and we'll figure it out. Also very important during this time, and this is going back to the housing crisis, what we say and what we do and how we treat our clients during this time is what they're going to remember most about you. When this is all back to whatever new normal we have, they're going to remember the companies who came in and tried to put liens on their properties and wouldn't work out anything with them and were very rude to them. Remember, at the end of the day, we're all in the multifamily industry, and we don't have an industry if we don't have apartment units to take care of. So you don't take care of them, they have friends. Everybody you're going to piss off has a friend, and they're going to remember how we as suppliers treated them. Remember, we're the conduit of this industry. We're the ones who are all over this industry taking care of everybody, but we don't want that conduit become rusty because we weren't good to our clients and our partners during this time. So I know it's tough, but let's just make sure we do everything we can to do the right thing during this time and be there for them during this crisis, because we need them. I think one last thing to think about is that we're all at home, great time for education. Supplier success, which is the prerequisite for the CAS. These are great things that you can get. There are some discounts. So I'm going to let Sloan jump in now and kind of talk about some opportunities for all of you. But we're going to still do some Q&A after this, but I really appreciate all of you being on this call, and I look forward to seeing your questions here in just a moment. But Sloan, take it away.
Yeah, I really appreciate Kirk bringing up education right now. So if you're fortunate to be in a position where you're, still really busy and have the revenue to, but also now have some time, this is a good time for that. And if you're not familiar with the terms CAS, that stands for Certified Apartment Supplier, and that's actually a national credential that you can earn. There's a number of you on today that actually hold this credential. And that's something the association holds. We were having a spring CAS program and a fall one. Obviously, the spring one is not happening. It's not safe to gather and won't be so for a little bit. But we do have that, so you can reach out to me if that's something you're interested in. And then the Supplier Success program, as Kirk mentioned, is a prerequisite to CAS, but it's also a great standalone program that you can take. We do offer it. We already had ours this year in person, but you can take it online. It's a great way to understand more about the multifamily customer and also the different types of multifamily customers. We're talking about, how our customers are doing right now and how they might be financially impacted. Their financial impact is also drastically different depending on what kind of management company they are. And so understanding those kinds of things really benefit you. So if you have questions about either of those, let me know. And as Kirk said, there's actually a discount right now that NAA is offering. I think it's 25% off of the credential programs if you register for them by the end of April, the online program. So reach out to me and I would. Oh, hi, Janelle. I will definitely send you information about that. Thank you. All right. So the next thing, and Kirk will be back, I promise, but the association wanted to make sure that you understand also how to maximize your membership right now. We want to be there for you so that you can be there for your customers. Like Kirk said already, just check in on them. We've had a number of webinars over the last 2 weeks, and the overwhelming response for them is very similar to the way you answered this morning, and that is they're concerned about their own health and safety right now and that of their associates that work for them and their residents. So just checking in on them will be a great way to engage with them. Also, I know it sounds silly, but our members are super active on our social media accounts right now. So just popping in to say hi, or I saw that video you did, or whatever, it goes a long way. And don't be afraid to jump in on our virtual networking events. So Trisha and the team put together a really great virtual tapas and topics. Oh, Kirk, can you back up one? They put together a really great virtual tapas and topics last week, and had a guest speaker that talked about how to keep your body and mind healthy during this time, had breakout rooms. Everybody had their own beverage of choice. So it was really fun. And there's another one coming up next week. So jump in on that. That's a great way to have some virtual face-to-face time with the WMFHA members. And then the next thing is ensuring that your profile is complete and up to date. This is a great time to go ahead and sit down and make sure that the way you are displayed in the WMFHA directory is the way you want it to be. It's alarming how many avatars we still have, which means you don't have your logo in there, your branding, you don't have the number of, you don't have your representative's contact information in there. And Kirk, if you could go to the next slide now, we've also added something extra. On one of those polls, you said one of your biggest concerns was, I have a way to help them right now during COVID, and I don't know how to tell them that. Well, here's how you tell them that. We've adjusted added some customized profile fields in your member compass. I used Fikes here because I knew that they had COVID related services. So you'll see here, one, they've got a logo. That's amazing. Two, member profile. That is always been a field in here, but it's also alarming how many of those are completely empty. So that's something that displays under your listing in our online directory. And if you don't put anything there that tells them what's great about you, then it's just blank. And then you'll see next, there is special offers in COVID-19 services. This is where you can put exactly how you can help them during this time. So if you complete that, go ahead and go to the next slide, Kirk. This is what they see. They see a beautiful profile with a logo, a company overview, and then bam, special offers in COVID services. And then below you see that Fikes has got their whole team there. Their controller doesn't have a picture, but the people that the customers interact with do. Contact information is there. So what we're gonna do for you, we sent an email out last week that said, hey, we're doing this. Please go in and populate if you have any special offers or COVID services. And we're gonna export that and then send that special listing of all of our suppliers who have special COVID related products or services out to all of our property management members so that they know that. So just wanted to point that out to you, that that's something that's always been available, but we've added that COVID field, and we definitely want you to be able to take advantage of that. We will push that information out to our members. Mike has a question. Mike, if you could just drop your question into the Q&A field, that would be great. And we'll take that here in just a couple of minutes. So anyway, that's kind of my plug for getting your member profile up to date so that you're maximizing your membership. A lot of associations charge extra for those special listings in the directory, and we don't. We just feel like we want you to have as much exposure and brand recognition as possible. So please take advantage of that. All right, I'm going to hand it back over to Kirk to wrap us up and open up our question and answer time.
Excellent, thank you. Can we pull up those two polls?
Yes.
Is that possible?
We'll start with the first one, which was, what are you most concerned about? And the leading answer was my team's health and safety.
Definitely, and I think that that's great to hear, but I will tell you that somewhere behind the scenes, someone is concerned about, is my company going to survive during this time? Everyone wants to say the right thing and be up there, but I would definitely believe that let's definitely pay attention to our team. We want our teams to be safe. We don't want to put our teams in any situations that we shouldn't put them in, for sure. And I'm glad to see that. But I think that other one is staying afloat so we can make sure that everyone keeps a job and is able to take care of their families during this tough time. And those are questions that they get asked a lot. And I'll tell you that if you are an owner of a company or you're an executive with the company, feel free to reach out to me, Kirk, K-I-R-K, @libertyrent.com. I'd love to have those discussions with you and bounce things off of each other to see if we can help each other, because I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from you also. So if any of you want to have that conversation, I will tell you that I'm always open to have conversations on how we at Liberty Rent can be better, and hopefully maybe we'll say some things in there that are going to help you also. But suppliers have got to stick together and help each other during this time. So let's have those conversations.
Yeah.
What was the next poll?
Okay, so the next poll was, it's about layoffs. I'm going to share that. So it was kind of how many of you, and one of our supplier partners over in Spokane said, we need another option to be, no, we haven't laid off, and we're actually hiring because business is so bananas right now. So that's a great place to be, but a really great point, because there are so many people that have lost their jobs right now. So this is a good opportunity to, if you're needing to hire, There are people looking for jobs, but there are some of you in that boat as well.
Absolutely, and this one has been a big one. I will tell you, my personal gut is telling me that there will be more suppliers laid off than there's going to be property management people during this time. There's just going to be some companies that are just going to have a tough time getting through this, and that's very sad for me to think about. But I believe what we just said is there going to be some other companies hiring, and there's going to be some great people that end up at different companies during this time. So if you have been one of those people that were laid off, or you feel like it's about to come, don't fret, because you're an incredible person, and there's another incredible company out there that's got an opportunity for you. So that networking that you do with your fellow suppliers and with Sloan and the association, they're going to be there for you during this time. So if you see that coming and you've got people you can have honest conversations with, have them, and let everybody help each other. There's another opportunity right around the corner, so don't let that get to you. Everything's going to be okay.
That's true. So a couple of things. JD Ellis asked, when will the COVID-19 special services email go out? It's already gone out and it's available now. So just log into your member Compass on the WMFHA website, and you can fill in that information now. And when will I think I know what you mean now. When will that be going out to their supplier or property management members? I believe next week. Trisha's online, so maybe she can drop in the chat box when we're doing that, but I think it's next week. And then Kelly Stone asks, is there a link on the WMFHA website as to who is hiring? Great question. We do have a career center on the WMFHA website, and it is open to all of our members. So if you have job openings, you can post them there, as well as people who are looking for work can for free post their resume and things like that. And so if you're a company that does have to lay off or whatever, maybe that's something you can do to help them, is get them posted onto the Career Center if they're looking for work.
And also, if you're a member of the National Suppliers Council, the NSC is called NAA-NSC LinkedIn page is just for members only. If you're a member of the NSC and you're just not on the LinkedIn page, go in and ask. I'll make sure that you get connected, and it's another place to talk about that. So there are people on there posting now that they are hiring. Doesn't mean that we're recruiting from each other, but there are some people, like we just said, that are getting laid off right now, and I want everybody to be able to keep a job wherever that may be. So the NSC and NAA is helping with that too. But if you're local, use your local association. That's the best. WMFHA is going to be there to help you.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so another question here that came in is, what if we have solutions that can help property management companies through the crisis, like preventing fraudulent activity from entering properties? Are these conversations we should have with the customers? I think there's two parts to that answer. One is, how do we let our members know you have that service, which I'll take that. And Kirk, I think your question is, are these conversations we should have with them? Is it appropriate to have that conversation right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think that it's been really tough. I've had a lot of people reach out and say, how are we going to let everybody know that we're here and what we do? And that's a really tough one, because I kind of think to myself, yes, I want to let people know, but also you probably should have been working on those relationships prior also. So it's kind of two-pronged for me what to say, because I don't want to just start promoting companies, but I want to make sure that these opportunities are there for companies that can help during this tough time. I think something we should probably talk about, Sloan, because I don't think anyone's come up with a great solution for that, to where we're looking like we're marketing certain people. Another thing that's come up is cybersecurity has come up big too. So a lot of people have changed the layout of their company, where everyone's working from home, and probably the majority of us here all have already worked from home and have laptops, but the property management people instantly gave everybody laptops, and a lot of people started working from home, and no one thought about it from a cybersecurity standpoint of all of this information transferring around now. And I always say, during bad times, the bad people will be worse. And so there's so much going on of this data transferring around that's just prime for really bad people to get a hold of. And I'm sure when this is all said and done, we're going to find out that that got really bad. It's just not talked about.
Yeah. And I think to answer the first part of your question, Mike, how you have something that can be helpful to them, how do we let them know? That's definitely filling out that part of your profile, because that was our way of, we got several questions and several emails between Trisha and Jim and Kelly and Brett and I that said, I don't want to sound self-serving, but I have a way to help right now. How do I say that? And so that was why we kind of created this, let's have a special field, let's get that information out to our members. That was our way to kind of help you do that, so it didn't sound like you were being self-serving, because you're not. You have a way to help them, and we want you to be able to do that. So make sure that's completed in your member profile. And Tricia answered the question. We're giving you all until Friday of this week to update your member profiles. Then we'll be doing that export and sending that out to our property management members. If you have questions or trouble with any of that, you can email Tricia. It's Tricia, Tricia at WMFHA.org, and she's dropped that there in the chat for you. So, you know, let us lean in with you in that way and help get that information out to our members for you. So, all right, good questions. All right, any other questions, anyone? Does anybody have any solutions, anything that's working good for you right now? Kim Lee at Apartment Life said that they're obviously, because their business is to take care of the residents, they're definitely working hard right now and actually adding to their team. So good for you guys on that. Give a couple more seconds here. I'm going to drop a couple of links in the chat box while we're waiting for final questions. You know, obviously, the biggest resource I want to share with you is the WMFHA website, because all the information that we're curating, it's always been there for you, but especially now. And I would make sure that you're paying attention even to especially to the information we're sending out to the property management companies around governance, guidance from HUD, the local legislative mandates around rent, eviction moratoriums, things like that, because that impact to them will impact you. And it's important for you to understand what they're going through. NAA put together this amazing little pictorial graphic last week that was, out of every dollar of rent collected, how much of that is actually profit or passed on to the owner. And that's really critical for people to understand, because the national numbers are looking pretty good. And Kirk's right, our delinquency is going to go down significantly, I think, in May. We didn't take as big of a hit in April as we thought we would. But something you need to understand is that locally in the state of Washington, our government is basically said, whether or not it's COVID related, you know, no rent actions right now, no notices, no eviction movement, no nothing. So if somebody was already late, delinquent, a problem, we really can't do anything about that. And we had a call with some Spokane executive leaders, and even things like, you know, they had a campus or a student housing building, and of course the students have all just gone home because they're not in school anymore. They didn't let the management company know they left, so they just sent a notice saying, hey, are you around? Can we come into the unit? We need to kind of take inventory of who's left and who's not. And they got slapped on the wrist by Washington, by the governor, that said, you can't give any notices right now, even though for the sake of the building, we needed to go in and see what was happening. So just know that that's kind of the current state of stress that your operators are under right now. And that is impacting them greatly. So you understanding that and knowing that is really important. So pay attention to the WMFHA website. And then also, just from a COVID standpoint, we have a whole collection of curated blog posts and messages and directives that we put on our website. And I just dropped that in the chat box. So anything related to COVID, whether it's rents and finance or government or just best practices, we put all of that there for you too. So that's another resource. All right, Kirk, we don't have any more questions. So I think, oh, Kelly, how are suppliers dealing with requests from multifamily for N95 masks? Good question, gloves, etc. I've given out all 2,000 sanitizers that I had for EdCon and N95 before the crisis locked in. Now the additional requests are getting overwhelming. When I explain I have none left, I get nasty responses. Well, I apologize on behalf of them. That's unfortunate. But Kirk, what would you say about that?
Well, that's a tough one. I tell you, there is a company out there right now that is making the, I guess, the aprons that all the doctors and medical people are wearing. I didn't know that we had someone in our industry that is making the mask. The sanitizer, I mean, guys, welcome to the rest of the world. The rest of us are having a hard time getting sanitizer too. I mean, I don't know about how it is out in Washington State, but in Florida, all of our breweries have turned into sanitation places that are all making sanitizer now and either giving it away or selling it. So I would hate that someone would get nasty with you. I mean, you've got what you've got. We've tried to prepare as much as we could prepare. I would just say I'm doing the best I can. And, you know, some people are just not going to be nice during this time. And I always say you're always, the real person is going to come out when you're drunk or angry.
Yeah.
And so maybe you saw the real person there, and maybe it's something for you to remember. But it's a tough time right now, and everybody is trying to get certain things. And you know, if you watch the news, everybody wants more masks or sanitizer, and it's just not out there. Just do the best you can. I think being honest with people and just trying to be a good person to them during this, to say I'm very sorry, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to keep looking for you. And if I find something, you're going to be the first person I'm going to call. So that way, you know, you're being straight with them. It is what it is right now. And I would love to know who this company was, and if you have the capability of getting things like that. And you're not the only person that's giving away all their sanitizer from the upcoming conferences. I think everybody's done that. What will we have? We'll just all have some pens to give away by the time we get to the next conference.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is we have some WMFHA members that are great sources of hand sanitizer. And Tammy Clark actually just mentioned that. Tammy Clark also just had a great comment. She's taken the COVID resources that we have link, and she's put it in her signature line. So that's a great resource for her customers, and it helps them know that she's staying on top of things. So great idea, Tammy. Thanks for sharing that. Kelly Stone says Glass Vodka has some sanitizers, and it's great vodka. So there you go on that.
Yeah, that's a great one. I don't know if any of you guys keep up with Ellen, but when all this happened, Ellen DeGeneres said that she didn't need hand sanitizer, that she had tequila, and she poured it on her hands and then licked the tequila off her hands. So we've all got sanitizer in the house if we want it.
Yes, yes. All right, well, we've kept you guys for 45 minutes. And first of all, I just want to thank Kirk. Kirk, thank you for joining us, for sharing this information with us. Thank you for your service on the National Supplier Council. We really appreciate you and appreciate that. Also, just remember this is being recorded, and so we'll send this recording out to you after the fact. Please let WMFHA know how we can help you during this time. That's what we're here for. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to sign off. Make sure you eat good food, move your body, get some fresh air today, and hang in there. We will get through this together. Have a great day, everyone.
You'll be good people.